Although it is technically still summer and a scorching 96 degrees outside, it is fall in my soul. Although it is always fall in my soul because I am a witchy girl, and no witchy girl is complete without a spell book. Surprisingly enough, I have not made a spellbook yet. Recently, while doom scrolling on Instagram, I stumbled across a girl who took a 3-ring binder and turned it into a recipe book. Now, she did the batting with cloth and trim and made it look very like your grandma's recipe book. Very cute. I loved it. However, what if my recipe book was also a spell book? My plan is fairly simple. 3-ring binder, and we're going to cover it and decorate it to look like a spell book. I do want it to look leather bound. I do want it to have some little like gold elements, maybe a stone in the middle. We're going to get to it. We'll see what happens. But either way, it's time for some crafting. Alright, so I've gathered my supplies and I've got some ideas on how I'm going to make this work. I've got this small grain binder. I didn't want it to be a full-sized 3-ring binder because I felt like that would just be too much in my kitchen. My kitchen doesn't have a lot of counter space. Originally, I thought about making a cosplay leather out of the EVA foam to cover it because I do not want to spend the money on real leather. I don't think that's necessary. But instead, I went over to the craft store and I just bought some leather fabric, some like fake leather, some leather fabric. I got quite a bit of it, so plenty of room to mess up and plenty to save for future projects. I have this piece of labradorite that's just been in my crystal collection for a long time. Let me see if it'll catch the light. There it is. This has also just been laying on a shelf. I feel like you don't really get to see it that much, so if I can reuse it in a project, I'd like to find a way to kind of embed it in the front. I'd really like for it to try and keep its natural shape as much as possible. I think the natural shape is really cool. I think it'll really add something. I cut a piece of paper to the size of the binder and used that as a guide to cut my EVA foam. Was that unnecessary extra work? Maybe, but it's fine. I did want to add a little bit of extra thickness to the spine just because usually older bound books have that little bit of curve to them, and so I did double up the EVA foam with the top layer being just a little bit smaller than the bottom layer. After that, I just hit them with the heat gun and rolled them back the opposite direction to flatten them out a little bit. There were a couple of elements I knew I wanted in this. I wanted to add those ridges to the spine, which is usually where the book is bound, and I knew that I wanted a stone in the cover. I really wanted it to look kind of embedded into the book without bringing the fabric over top of the labradorite. I just loved how the shape of the stone looked on its own, and I felt like it would really add a lot of character. I really only added EVA foam to help with that effect. I traced around where I wanted it and cut that piece out. It wasn't as deep as I wanted, so I did take some scraps and raise the edges just a little bit, and I used some hot glue to kind of connect to the top of the EVA foam to the bottom, trying to add a slope to it instead of a harsh drop off the edge. Kind of like the stone had pressed itself into the book and everything had kind of squished out of its way. I figured the best way to achieve that bound book look on the side was to just add macrame cord. I mean, that's all that's really on the side of those books anyway, is just like a really thick rope. I cut the fabric to fit and then laid it over the top and cut into the center where I wanted the stone to go. That way the fabric would kind of cave into this divot that I had made. It was a lot of trial and error of cutting out more EVA foam and then cutting more fabric before I felt like it could really wedge in there the way that I wanted it to. I also tried multiple types of glue in an attempt to get all this stuff to stick together. I used a B7000, which is really supposed to be used for rhinestoning, but I used that to stick the EVA foam to the binder. That worked great. It did not work well with the fabric though. And what ended up working the best with the fabric was this spray adhesive. Side note, I did handle all of the glue in a separate room next to a window with it open and a fan and the proper breathing equipment on for the safety of myself and my animals. Very important. I just felt the need to point that out. I tried my best to really press those edges in, especially around the spine of it, but I did do my best to leave all of the edges unglued because I wanted to come back through with some stitching, and I felt like it was going to be easier to keep it all lined up that way. I also did use a heat removable pin to add a guideline while doing all of my stitching. Now, was it bright to use a lime green binder for this? Nah. Would it have been less work in the long run had I used a black one? Definitely. But here we are. I tried my best to keep it simple, glued down some brown cardstock on the inside, hated that the adhesive left what looked like a grease stain on it, and so I ended up just slapping some black paint over top of that. It's not perfect, and that's okay. Imperfections add character. I did not like, however, that the cardstock looked so disconnected from the rest of it. It needed some type of border. I knew I didn't have any black ribbon, but when digging through my craft stash, I did find this bias tape that definitely came out of my granny's craft supplies, so it is easily 20 years old, but it works. When painting over the paper, I got a little bit of paint on the fabric, and I liked the little bit of distressing it added, so I proceeded to add a little bit of black paint all over the book, mostly around the edges and on the spine, and to help add some extra dimension. I really also focused around where the stone was going to be in the center. I did this fun back and forth of put a little bit of paint, wipe it off with my fingers or a napkin. I also ended up adding the tiniest amount of a light brown paint. It's mostly on the spine, and it's there just to add a little bit of highlight and contrast. I did not end up adding the footage of me gluing the stone in, but I really only used the B7000, and I mean I used a lot of it. I might have also used some hot glue like down in the edges inside of it to really lock it in there. Now, something about me is that I often have an idea, but not a fully fleshed out vision. I see more of the essence than I do the details, and the same thing happened with this design. I knew that I wanted a gold design painted over the top, and I had a photo of a cabinet that gave me overall vibes and inspiration, but I started painting and just hoping for the best. And it was right about here that I was questioning my choices to paint on it at all, because I was not in love with it, and I was very worried that I had ruined it, but I was trying to trust the process, and I kept on going. I really should have gotten a better angle to show the painting process, and I'm sorry about that, but I pretty much just kept painting little squiggles, adding leaves where I felt like they needed to be. I kind of just went with vibes. I went back and added more lines here and there, a couple of stars. I used the back of the paintbrush to add some little dots, anything that helped it feel a little more magical. I then repeated the process on the back. I was not even a little bit worried about them looking the same, and I kind of like that they don't match. I also decided to add a little moon and sun on the spine. I thought about adding a design down the center of it too, but ultimately decided since the front and the back had so much going on, I wanted to keep that part of it a little simple. I felt like in order to really make this feel like a real book, the best thing I could do was add some little metal book corner covers, and this was another thing that I questioned while doing it, but I think overall it adds to the look of it, and with that finishing touch, it was done! This turned out so cute. I'm in love with it. I'm obsessed with it. The light, oh, there it is. Ah, the stone. It got a little dicey there during the painting stages. I was very concerned that I was not gonna like the way that it turned out. But I'm so happy. It looks so cute. I've already got little page protectors in here because every time I cook, I splash food everywhere and I want to protect my recipes and everything that I've written down. I really hope you can't hear my air fryer beeping in the background right now. But I'm so happy. I think it turned out so great. It's not perfect. I wish that I had been able to really get this to like hug and curve up a little bit harsher than it ended up being. But considering I've never made anything like this before, I think it turned out pretty damn good. I'm just so happy. It's so cute. If you watch this video, especially if you watch to the very end, thank you so much. That means the world to me. I'm literally just having fun and making stuff, and I think it's really cool whenever people watch. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm always just figuring things out as I go, and I like watching the process. I like experimenting with the process, and I'm glad that some of y'all enjoy that as well. It is getting very close to Renfrew. Well, no, it's not. It's not getting close to Renfrew season, but it is getting close to Renfrew season. It's close enough that my brain is moving, and I've got 900 ideas and a lot of things that I want to start making, and little mood boards and all that good stuff. I will be videoing my progress with all those projects, and really excited to start working on those. So if you're interested in seeing any of the other stuff that I start making, that's just really cool. Thank you so much. But hopefully I'll see y'all in another video. Bye.